I didn't really feel like I fit in. They're not learning or growing or doing a good job. That's on you. Teamwork and dealing with people than it is about just getting your reports done.
So now let's dive into hot topic, which is the remote work. I like that flexibility to be able to be free
Yeah.
and work from whatever I want, but I realize that it requires a tremendous amount of communication skills. How would you say a team can thrive actually in such an environment, especially for remote work, or even if it's not a remote work, it's just like a regular work from home?
Yeah.
What can they do?
I think that it's really important to, if you, for example, you have a team member that's solely remote. Like I have some team members that are in Toronto or Victoria. I think it's really important to turn your camera on. I think that that personal connection is the least you can do when you're only remote. I think not being able to see someone's face and someone's expressions and someone's it just brings so much more value to that opportunity to connect with people. So turn your camera on, make opportunities to connect at least weekly. I think like if you're managing someone remotely, make sure that there's you're connecting somehow. Hopefully there's opportunities to provide get-togethers where the team once a year, twice a year can all come together and get to know each other. I find that building rapport with your team doesn't happen as well over the camera. I also really do love hybrid opportunities where you can work remote and work from the office, but 100% remote, I feel that it's harder with retention, it's harder with loyalty is harder to build, commitment is harder to build. I feel like the turnover is a lot higher when people stay remote, never show up in person, and are just doing a job. And that's okay sometimes, right? Like having someone just do the job is okay, but I feel like it's a lot easier to leave. You know what I mean? Because there's no personal connection there. So I really do appreciate having a hybrid opportunity. I like that my team shows up in the office 2 to 3 days a week. I know a lot of companies have moved to a mandated 5 days a week, and I don't like that. I also like think about the radius from your company's office and the amount of limitation you're providing by mandating that everyone shows up 5 days a week. Now anyone that's over 45 minutes to an hour commute aren't showing up, are going to find another job, and that sometimes I don't think is worth the risk. So those kinds of things, I just think flexibility is critical. I think that you can be a fantastic leader and you can still grow in your career by showing up 2 to 3 days a week. And they've done studies saying that that's okay, that you can still grow in your career and become a leader with showing up 3 days a week instead of 5. So I think that I'm a big advocate of flexibility.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I hope I'll always work at companies that are on the same page as me. Yeah.
I can see. But I personally love to set guidelines. I don't like to micromanage people or control people, but it's very, like, I've realized that I've started to kind of improve and develop those skill set in myself to make sure that I'm articulate my expectation to the people that I'm going to work with, and they're aware of the values and also what, like, my expectations. But how would you balance to give a person the freedom that they need to get the work done, and at the same time make sure that you communicate your expectation and you can make sure that you actually share the same values?
I think it's really stems down to your delegation of the task and then having trust. So micromanagement is the worst kind of leadership that anyone could have. You have to build rapport, you have to learn to trust your team, but you also have to assess how they're doing and what they're doing. So it's just continuous feedback, it's continuous touch points, it's having an open line of communication for them to ask questions when they need. I never close an opportunity for someone to reach out to me and ask a question. I know it's bad for me because my time management gets a little bit disrupted and the distractions are high, so I don't become as effective as I should be. But if someone's willing to ask me a question, I make time for them, because it means that they just need a little bit of support or guidance to get something done. And I don't want to ignore them or just say, figure it out, or not delegate to them really thoroughly, because then we're just all setting everyone up for failure. And then they're going to be discouraged if they're not given the right training or feedback or delegation. And the other thing too is feedback. The feedback loop has to exist. So I don't think you need to micromanage if you are constantly giving respectful, caring feedback. And the feedback, I read a book by Kim Scott and I just love it. It's called Radical Candor, and it's just about giving feedback with respect. And you can only give feedback, good feedback, if you care about that person and you're caring about their success and you want them to thrive. So when you're giving them feedback, it shouldn't come from a place where they're going to feel offended or have hurt feelings, when you're doing it solely to care for them and make them better or help them improve in their job. So yeah, so micromanagement, bad. Don't do it.
Don't.
but make sure that they're getting feedback. Like, you can't, micromanagement is basically like setting everything out for them to never learn. Mm-hmm. They never get to figure out how they, can solve problems. They never get to think for themselves. You're not making a very good team member if that's what you're doing for them. So let them have their freedom and their autonomy to figure things out. Let them be able to ask questions whenever they want without feeling stupid or being insulted. And then when all is said and done, make sure that you give them really good feedback. And the feedback should be focused on the positives, for sure. Mm-hmm. You will always be more committed and more excited and more eager to learn if they're constantly getting positive feedback. I mean, obviously people make mistakes, and that's okay too, but they shouldn't be dumped on because they're making a mistake. Then they're just going to hide from you and not ask for help, and then they won't grow and learn, and then you just have a team member that's dead in the water. No one's winning anymore after that. So
that's actually a very good point that I noticed in some of the leaders' behavior, that they use punishment actually in their feedback, and I was like, it is not good and it's not gonna help. You're gonna literally lose your higher achiever employees only because of that attitude that you don't know how to work, or you don't know how to give proper feedback. You want to help someone, just show it to them that you actually care.
Like public shaming, giving any kind of feedback or scores collectively to an entire team is awful. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't want anyone to feel insecure in their team. I mean, this is the biggest problem in my mind in regards to problematic teams or toxic teams. Usually it stems from insecurity. Mm-hmm. So if you're constantly giving poor, disrespectful feedback and you're destroying someone's confidence, you'll generate someone who's insecure. And insecurity, the consequence of having an insecure team member is not good. It makes people mean, undercutting, toxic. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that are mostly going to be involved in the the gossiping or the rumors, or because when you're insecure, you have to make people around you feel less than because you feel less than. So ever making someone feel bad about themselves is awful. And also, you don't want a team of people that don't have empathy. So if you're giving harsh, rude feedback to someone and your team is watching that, if you have a team that actually enjoys that, you are on the wrong team. Like, you want a team of people that would go, wow, that was awful. You just embarrassed that person in front of all of us. You want someone like that on your team that does not enjoy you being down to somebody. So I think that it's just never good to give hard feedback in front of a team. It always has to be one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then delivered respectfully.
My favorite one, burnout. My question is, in our industry, which is a demanding industry, so many companies, they promote work-life balance. In my opinion, I'm saying that, is it really possible to make that balance? Because if you want to get successful in your career, like you can't really say, oh, now, like, for me at least, I can't really all the time say that, okay, I'm gonna turn off my brain, I'm not gonna think about work, and now I'm just gonna do my personal thing. So how would you manage your stress as a leader?
First of all, you have to have hobbies.
Yeah,
You have to have things that you love doing. And then when you're not working, you need to do those things. You have to draw boundaries. So I find that my boundaries shift throughout my life. When I was, in the beginning of my career, I worked really hard, and my boundaries were pretty gray. I'd push past them all the time. I would do more than
okay.
I'd do more than what was necessary. I'd work
Yeah.
longer hours than what was necessary. Unfortunately, in my industry, working in the field is just inevitable. You work 10 to 12-hour days sometimes. It's not a typical world. And so we end up hiring people who are okay with that. You have to be. And it's not forever. It's, for anywhere from 2 to 8 years of your life that I highly recommend that you work that hard, and your boundaries won't be as strong. But you get to portions of your career where you have other life demands. Maybe it's a family, maybe it's a sick parent, maybe it's maybe it's aging. You're just getting more tired. And then you just change your boundaries as you go, and you have to just find a job that fits those boundaries. So I have some people also, okay, so I mentioned Kim Scott in this book that I love, Radical Candor. She talks about rock stars and superstars. And so that's the other thing too. A superstar wants to grow. They want to climb the ladder. They want to go into leadership. They want to go up the chain, director, VP, CEO, whatever. That's their aspirations and their goals. Then you have the rock stars. The rock stars are fantastic at their job. They love what they do. They put in their 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. They do a great job. They are also needed. You can't have a whole team of people that want to climb the ladder. That doesn't work. So you have to really appreciate the rock stars. I have people that, are in a younger generation, and they truly just want to work 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day. That's their life. That's how they are going to live their life. And that's okay. So you just have to find a team or a leader or a company that is okay with that. And some companies aren't, and some leaders aren't, and that's just means you have to go somewhere else. So wherever you're at in your life, whatever boundary you want to draw, that's where you need to find a job that fits that at that time. If you are in a company that expects far more than you can give at that time in your life, you will burn out. But I also really like really hardworking, ambitious people who at some points in their life are willing to give more than have that work-life balance. So I don't know, it's hard. Like, I love my job. I love working. So I don't really sometimes do the best job at having work-life balance. Sometimes my job takes over. But it doesn't make me miserable, and it doesn't make me unhappy. It just makes me realize that at this point in my life, I'm learning incredible things for my career, and it's a commitment that I'm willing to give. And then every once in a while I'll be like, okay, that's enough. I don't want to do those 10-hour days, 7 days a week anymore. I'm going to find a job where I can do my 40 hours a week and be respected for that. So it's just, I don't know, it's up to you. You have to be able to tell when you're pushing yourself beyond. And in my former job, I pushed myself beyond what I should have been doing. And I burnt out, and I was basically like having meltdowns. Like, I'd go to have a one-on-one with my boss, and I'd nearly start bawling because I was just so overwhelmed and just feeling like I was failing because it was too much. And so when those things happen, you have to learn from it. You have to step back. You have to figure out if you need a new job, or let your boss know that you need a change, and then you need to focus on the things that take that stress away. So whether it's going for a walk with your dog, or reading, or painting, or yoga, or traveling, or you have to do those things. You have to do the things that you love still, always, instead of just constantly losing yourself in your job. So yeah, it just depends. What boundaries are you willing to set at that time in your life? Do you want to work really, really hard towards leadership? Then your boundaries might involve working 10-hour days versus 8. So it's really up to the person.
I like it that you mentioned about that setting the boundaries.
Yeah.
I found it's something that me, especially as a junior, I would love to work on that. And I'm still like, I'm saying, okay, imagine yourself as a leader. Now you need to set that boundary. Even if you're going to talk to a manager, to leadership positions, set that boundary, go to that meeting that way.
You have to realize that it is just a job.
Yeah.
It truly is just a job. So if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, you will be replaced. Like, your boss will immediately be sad that you're gone, but immediately post that job posting. So your mental health
Harsh truth.
It's not worth sacrificing your life and your mental health for your job. I'm not saying don't love your job, don't find a job that you love to go to every day and are willing to work hard for, but by no means just know it's just a job.
True.
Yeah.
So let's jump into the next question, networking. It is everything in the current market.
Yes.
But to get it right I found it personally, that can be tricky.
Yeah.
Some people, the way they communicate or they try to connect just gives you the feeling that it's overly transactional. How would you advise a person who tries to network and communicate with a person and they're looking for a job?
People like to help people. So I would say when you're networking, don't just take and take and take, but allow them an opportunity to help you. People like to answer questions. People like to also be heard. So when I network, the business part of it is the 10% of the conversation, and the rest of it is developing connections and having a conversation about life. So I did business development for 1 year, and every single person that I got in front of, we didn't even talk about business or opportunities for work. It was mostly, where are you from? How are your kids? What are your hobbies? Like, getting to know a person at a personal level. And then I oftentimes would ask, what are your pain points at your job? Like, what do your consultants that work for you, what are you struggling with? What are they not providing? So, like, they want to just have a discussion and they want to be heard. So it's not about, hey, I have this service, I can write, these reports for you, I can do this field work. That's not going to work. It's just, you don't want it to be transactional. No one wants it to be transactional. And most of the best business development people I know, they're not talking about work for 90% of the time. They want to help people as well. So, like, let them help you. When I was doing BD for a year, I was leaving TC and I was going back into consulting, and I did not have a ton of connections because I hadn't done BD before, and I also was at TC, which you don't typically have that need to network as much because you're essentially like the company that hires all the companies versus you're not the consultant at the labs that are trying to sell your service. So I didn't have a very good network, and I ended up just writing a boatload of people on LinkedIn saying, hey, I have been out of upstream oil and gas for the last 6 years. I'm super curious what's new in the industry. I'd love to learn from you. And I had like a 50% success rate on people saying, sure, would love to catch up or to meet you and teach you about what's going on. And that it wasn't, hey, I work at this company and I can maybe help you do some reclamation. Can we connect? I'm pretty sure 5% of those people might have written back. So yeah, it's just about, and I think, like, when people write me, if I accept a connection on LinkedIn and they immediately send me a sales pitch, I ignore it. I can't. You don't know who I am. You don't know, like, and especially if it has nothing to do with what I need in my life. You don't even understand what I do in my career and you're trying to sell me something, it doesn't go well for me. That's how I am anyways. But I also acknowledge that everyone needs services. Everyone needs to hire people. And so you just want to keep networking until you find those right connections. And then when you find that right connection and you find that person who has a consultant where there's a major pain point and you can, fix that pain point, that's when you start talking about how you can help. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's actually true. It's been always, every time I want to network with someone, even internally in a company,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't try to get into, oh, hey, by the way, I did this project. I
Yeah.
know how to work, for example, with this software. Because at the end of the day, we're all human, you know?
Yeah, like I've gone to conferences and ended up in conversations where the most technical person in the room who hasn't done a ton of BD will just talk about all the projects they've worked on and how smart they are. And no one cares. They don't want to hear it. They're not going to hire you because they're thinking, man, you're smart and you have so much experience. There is so many people with so much experience out there, but are they going to like working with you? That you sell by being a friend, essentially. Getting to know them as a person rather than pitching them what you can do for them. Yeah. So if you don't get along, if you don't communicate well, if you don't have, you know, a personality that people want to be around, you're going to have a hard time. Yeah.
Many people are afraid that AI will replace their job. Question would be how people can increase their adaptability to thrive in such a evolving environment.
Yeah, I think it's important to continually include technology and learn about it and see how it can work for you. Essentially, our industry is tapped for resources. We can't get enough people. We can't get our jobs done efficiently enough. There's billions and billions of dollars of work that needs to be done that we don't have enough resources for or enough money for. So if we can do things more efficiently, if we can do things better with any technology, then I'm all for it. AI will never replace our jobs. I'm certain of it. We are dabbling, like I'm on an AI committee with my company, and we constantly talk about how it can help us do faster, better work. And it absolutely can. So like, for example, our proposals team uses ChatGPT when you're doing that, last once over to make sure that it's in alignment with what the proposal is asking for. They can, refine language. You can ask it to provide you certain types of language so that it's sounding in alignment with what you want it to sound like.
Sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay. So we definitely think, like at the company I'm at, we use AI. A few divisions use AI, and we use ChatGPT quite a bit, and we're always investigating to see what else can be used. And I would say don't avoid it because we need it. We need to be more efficient at our jobs. I don't think anyone should be threatened by being able to do things more efficiently because there's so much work out there.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's infinite. So why would we limit ourselves from doing our job faster? Yeah.
So looking back at your career, what's one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self who just started out her career? And a person like me who loves to get into the operation roles, what would you recommend? How we can succeed?
I think that I wish I would have figured out the boundary piece a little bit earlier in my life and understand that it is just a job and that you are replaceable. So too many times, and I've been burned a few times, it's probably about 3 times now, where I've given my all to my career and my job and the company I'm at, and then you will just get that slap in the face reminder that you are just you are replaceable. And it won't matter how hard you are, how loyal you are, or how hard you work, how loyal you are, how much you care. You can still be burned, and then it is just that harsh reminder that you are replaceable and it is just a job. So I wish I learned that earlier because I've given a lot to a lot of companies, more than they deserved and more than I was appreciated for or recognized for doing. So it just wasn't worth it. So that would be the one thing I would tell myself.
And for someone like me who wants to get to the operation director levels, what would you advise that we can work on aside from communication?
I would say time management. Distractions are the bane of companies' productivities. So I turn off my email notifications. I keep my phone far away from me. just to understand that anytime you're distracted, you essentially have lost 23 to 25 minutes of your day. So workflow and not being distracted while you're executing that work is really critical. If you are constantly being distracted and not managing your time well, then you are not productive. And to succeed and thrive and to grow into a very influential, like director type role, you have to make impact. You have to, influence change. You have to constantly be productive. And if you aren't managing your time well, you're going to burn out because you're probably going to end up working 10 to 12 hours a day. If you're managing your time well and like plotting off certain times of your day, marking on your calendar, do not disturb. For myself, for my balance is I take Fridays as a meetingless day. No meetings. And I get all the work done on Fridays because I find when I'm going from meeting to meeting to meeting, I never get into a flow. And so the days that I don't have meetings, I get all the work done. The days that I do have meetings, that 1 or 2 hour break in between, it's really hard to really be productive. And usually then you're being distracted by questions or like your teammates that want to discuss things or get support. So yeah, I could use another whole other day where I have no meetings, but right now it's Fridays and that's the day that I just get as much done as possible. So just figuring out what works for you. Time management is critical to, all the other things, communication, empathy, learning how to transition your mindset from being a doer to a leader. All those things are really important, but time management to effectively get a lot of things done and to really make an influence on a company is, I think, pretty critical. Do the things first that are the hardest. So don't procrastinate on the thing that you hate the most. Get that stuff done first thing in your day so that that's off your brain. And then just time segments, get stuff done, book time to execute tasks, make your lists, be organized. All those things are just really critical in being an effective worker.
And especially, you actually pointed to a very good thing about email notifications, because personally I really don't check my phone during the work, but I found it that the most thing cause me distraction is that constantly receiving email.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of this work, I receive email,
Yeah.
and someone requests me another work and I'm stressed, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
and this is urgent for them as well, but I'm right now working on this one.
Yeah, I would recommend, if you're not a manager, only check your email twice a day. If you are, then maybe every hour or two, just to see. But I don't get email notifications because you are instantly losing your train of thought, and the distraction it just makes a very unproductive day. And you'll find in that high-paced industry where you're a leader, you will get through an entire day and feel like you've accomplished nothing because you've been distracted and pulled in so many directions all day long. So you just have to get really disciplined about that and be.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to let me share what I love doing.
And to everyone who's watching this video, I hope you find it as valuable as I did. And please feel free to reach out to Janine if you have any questions or you would like to connect. She's lovely, as I told you. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.